What's going on, Arizona Cardinal fans? This is your boy James here, back for another season prediction video with the Arizona Cardinals. So, the Arizona Cardinals, depending on where Kyler Murray is, if he's going to be there this summer, it sounds like he's going to be back just as of recent media posts that I've been seeing. And as far as like DeAndre Hopkins and his suspension, how that's going to go for him, there's a lot of different ways on how that offense is going to generally operate during all that stuff that's going on. But as of right now, I feel like this is a Cardinals team. I'm just going to be flat out honest with you right now, and we'll take a look at the schedule. I think the Cardinals are going to take a step back than what they were a year ago. I don't think they're a terrible team. I don't think that at all. But I also don't think they're a as good of a team as they appeared to be on paper. And what I mean by that really is that it has nothing to do with Kyler Murray, has nothing to do with DeAndre Hopkins. It has nothing to do with the run game or anything like that. I just don't feel like in a tough division like the NFC West, it's a very tough division that this team plays in. I just don't feel like they're as good as like a team like the Vikings, or they're not like a Vikings team that where they can really get you any minute, or they're not really a Packers team where like you have an Aaron Rodgers and whether his top receivers are there or not, he's going to make a big, he's going to play a good game still. I just don't feel like this is a great Arizona team, but on paper, I think some of these teams that they do play up against this year, they could pull off some upsets, and they could prove me wrong. They could turn out to be better than what most people would expect, but I don't think they're that great of a team. But let's take a look at the schedule and let's analyze it a little bit more as far as where that could pertain to. So let's take a look at it and see what they have in store. All right, so here we go with week one. It's a very, very tough week one schedule for them to start off with. You're at home and you play the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I still think, despite how tough that AFC West is, I feel like the Kansas City Chiefs are still good, but they're not the top team that they once were for the last 4 or 5 years. I feel like they kind of took a little bit of a step back in terms of their defense. Wise, I think their defense was kind of getting better, but there's not really. Their defense is what really keeps them. And without Tyreek Hill, their number one receiver, is still kind of try to. It's their offense is going to be a little bit funky without him, but it's Patrick Mahomes, it's Andy Reid. You can't underestimate that coaching staff and that roster that he does put together. So I think this is a really tough week one game matchup for both teams personally, because we don't really know how Kyler Murray is going to be without DeAndre Hopkins. He could play at his best and use Marquise Brown as his number one until DeAndre Hopkins comes back, or and so on and so forth. But I think this Arizona defense their defensive line is actually a little bit underrated than people think. They were kind of shifty a little bit last year, but I think their pass rush is actually better than what people give them credit for, and I think that defensive line can get to Patrick Mahomes. But at the same time, it's Patrick Mahomes. He plays good whether if he's at home or away, or wherever he is. I think the Chiefs just get that win, but I think they're gonna like find a way to win, but it's not gonna be like an easy win where they're going to be up by like 40, 50 points. I think they're just going to be able to escape a win out of the Arizona Cardinals. I think the Cardinals on paper with their offense can actually do a lot of damage on that Kansas City defense. So I think I'm going to pick the Chiefs, though, to win in that week one matchup, because it's Patrick Mahomes. He's Mr. September. He always plays well, usually in the month of September, except for last year. But yeah, I'm taking the Chiefs to win that game. Week two, you go to play the Las Vegas Raiders. I took the Raiders to win this game initially because I think the Raiders are actually a better team than what they're given credit for, personally. And with all the offseason stuff that they've been doing, new coaching staff, I could see this team actually doing quite well. And I think that defensive line, like Arizona's, is actually very underrated. I think they're a good defensive line that they have. But I think Arizona's offense is going to struggle a little bit in protecting Kyler Murray from Max Crosby. So I'm going to take the Raiders to win that one. Week 3, they play the Rams at home. I can see this game really going either way because we kind of saw a little in the first time these two teams have played last year. Matthew Stafford didn't play exactly his best when they first played Arizona. So I can kind of see this team being able to split with the Rams this year, and I think that's how it's going to go. I think they'll more than likely win the first matchup, and then I think they're going to win, and then they're going to lose to them the second matchup here in Week 10. So, and I think the Rams are one of the best teams in the NFL. They're still a very strong team, but there are going to be some slip ups with the Rams where they're going to lose some games where they shouldn't have lost. So, but I'm going to pick the Cardinals to win that game in Week 3. Then you go to Week 4, you have the Cardinals at the Panthers. I don't think the Panthers are a very good team, but for whatever reason, I can see an upset brewing in this game because I feel like when the Panthers do play at their best, they usually beat a good team when they're not really expected to. I don't really think this Panthers team is a very good team. When I did their prediction video, I predicted them they were going to be at least 2-15, maybe even 3-14 if they're lucky to get 3 wins. But I think the Cardinals will be one of their wins this year at least. So I'm going to take that. Then Week 5, you have the Eagles at Arizona. I think this game could really go either way. I don't really particularly love the Eagles per se. I don't know if this is a team that's really going to be anything special to worry about besides AJ Brown. While I do think they improved on the offense and the wide receiving core and AJ Brown, I think this defense is just there's still a lot of questions as far as this defense goes. So I don't really know about that, but I think the Arizona offense can give the Eagles some problems. I did pick the Eagles to win against the Arizona Cardinals. I don't know if I'm really going to stick with that or not because I can really see these two teams either one of these two teams actually winning this game, just despite with like how similar they kind of are. So I'm gonna really leave that off again, and I'll go back to it. Then Week 6, you have the Cardinals at the Seahawks. I think, despite it being in Seattle, I think the Cardinals do win the first matchup against the Seahawks. I think that's how I did it when I did my Seahawks prediction video. I think they're going to win the first matchup in Seattle, and then they're going to lose to them at home in Week 9. I think that's just how it is. It's usually how it is when the Cardinals and the Seahawks do play. They usually split, or one will sweep one or the other. So I'm taking that. Then Week 7, I can see this one on a Thursday night with the Saints being an upset by Arizona, but I'm not really sure how that's really going to play. I think it just really depends on Jameis Winston and how that coaching staff is able to coach up Jameis Winston for this game. So I can kind of see this game going really either way, to be quite honest with you. I think the Saints are a sneaky good playoff team, so that's something to really kind of take into consideration too. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm probably going to take I think I'm going to take the Saints though still because I think the Saints overall just have a better roster. I think that offense is better. Their defense is far better than Arizona's defense, and I think they can get to Kyler Murray quite a bit. Week 8, they play the Vikings. I went with the Vikings, and I'm going to stick by that because I feel like the Vikings are a sneaky. They're kind of like the Saints and the 49ers. I think they're just a very underrated, very good football team this year that I think their defense is kind of concerning with the Vikings a little bit, so they might give up some points against this Arizona offense. But I do feel like the Vikings, though, on one side, I think their offense is pretty elite with Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook. Kirk Cousins can have a really good game in this one, like he did last year, but just missed it with that last second field goal that could have won the game. But I think the Vikings, and it's a tough place to play in Minnesota. So I'm going to give the advantage for the Vikings to win in Minnesota in that one. Week 11, you have the 49ers at Arizona. I believe this game is actually being played in Arizona. I'm going to pick the Cardinals to win that game. And I think if there's any team this year that I do think the Cardinals may have an opportunity to sweep, I think for whatever reason, I think it's going to be the 49ers because I feel like the 49ers, they're up and down as far as like their team. They have a great roster. Don't get me wrong. I think that roster is phenomenal. But I think it's really going to depend on that quarterback play, whether if it's going to be Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance. And I think the defense sometimes um, does get a little bit uneven a little bit with certain teams that have a high power offense like the Cardinals. So I can see the Cardinals sweeping them, or they could sweep the Seahawks as well. But we'll talk about a little bit more about that when when we get to that. Then week 12, you have the Chargers. The Chargers are they're a great team all around. That should be a blowout game personally. In my opinion, I don't see really that many teams being able to beat the Chargers this year. Week 13, you're on a bye, and then you're looking at a 3-8 record, so you're not really looking too good right now. But then in week 14, you're looking at the Patriots, and you've got the Arizona Cardinals on a Monday night. I think this game could also go either way, but I'm taking the Patriots to win this game because I feel like with Bill Belichick and that defense, I think the only concerning part with New England, if you're a New England fan, would be their rush defense, and that could really give them some problems. They normally do struggle against running quarterbacks, so I honestly could see the Cardinals winning that game, and they could be at that point they could be 4-8, or they could be 3-9 and lose to the Patriots. Just typically because they don't their defense usually does not prepare very well for running quarterbacks, so I could see that game really going either way, but I think I'm taking the coaching, into consideration, and I think Bill Belichick and his team will find any way possible to beat the Cardinals. Then you look into Week 15, and then you look at Week 15 and you play the Denver Broncos. This game could be an either or game. The Broncos have Russell Wilson, which is something to be said, and you're mile high. And that's also not an easy place to play too, especially in this time when you're looking at early December or late mid December actually at that point. So this is kind of a typical game to really predict, but I really do think at this point, I think the Arizona Cardinals can pull off the upset because this is where either one of these two teams are going to slip up a little bit and might lose to they might lose one of these games. So I think the Broncos, though, on one side, their defense is solid, but I think the Broncos defense, I think you can run the ball on them pretty well. I think Arizona with Kyler Murray as their running quarterback actually can make some good plays outside of the pocket and the scrambles and his running abilities that it might be enough to be able to beat the Broncos. So I think this Arizona team can beat the Broncos. I think they can find a way to upset them in that case. So I think I'm going to take that into consideration and have the Arizona Cardinals win as an upset in Week 15. Week 16, you got the Bucks at the Arizona Cardinals. Again, this could be another upset game. I really honestly could see the Cardinals actually beating Tom Brady and the Buccaneers at home because it's in Arizona. At this point, it's out west, so it's a little bit different for Tom Brady to be playing ball. So I think this could be a potential upset. I think the Arizona Cardinals can find a way to beat the Bucks. I think what they're really going to take advantage of in this game is the passing game with Kyler Murray, because we all know that he has really good abilities in being able to make some really good, crucial passing plays. So I think I could see that game really going either way. It could be a really big back and forth going game. But I think at the end of the day, if whoever really has the ball last, which I think could be Kyler Murray, I think he could beat that Tom Brady defense, really personally, because I think the Bucks defense is good up to a certain point. I think that pass rush, is what is going to, just like with the Broncos, I think the pass rush and the running ability, I think they can find a way to eventually be able to break that and beat them. So I'm going to take the Cardinals in an upset over the Buccaneers in Arizona. Week 17, they travel to Atlanta. I don't find Atlanta to be anything really special this year, so I'm going to take Arizona to win in Atlanta. Then week 18, you're kind of looking at you might be looking at the last playoff picture. So you're looking at a 6-9 record right now. Okay. So this could be like a potential game where you might need to win this game in order to get into the playoffs. Do I see that happening here? It's a good possibility, honestly, because I feel like as good as of a coach as Kyle Shanahan is, he always struggles against a good, teams that are, either mediocre or they match up to his coaching styles while they can figure out how to beat his defense. Like teams like the Falcons who have beaten them 3 seasons ago. So honestly, I really wouldn't be that shocked if the Cardinals did actually sweep the 49ers because I think it's going to really heavily depend on the ability to for Kyler Murray and this offense to get going against this tough San Francisco defense. And I also think too is that if this Arizona defense can contain Trey Lance, and we're just going to assume at that point that he would be starting, it's going to be tough for Trey Lance to be able to do that against a tough team like the Cardinals. We saw it last year. He played them in, I believe it was week 5. He had his very first NFL start, um, his full game start with the Arizona Cardinals when he played against them in Arizona. And it wasn't really a pretty picture for him. It was a really not a good game for him if you look at that kind of way. So I think if there's one team in that division the Cardinals do sweep this year, I think the 49ers they can sweep. Then that kind of leaves up to the last one, week 5, in the Arizona Cardinals and the Philly Eagles. That game could really go either way, to be quite honest with you. But I think at the end of the day, I think that Eagles team is sneaky. They can get you some wins. They can beat you in certain ways. So really, I wouldn't be too shocked if the Eagles did find a way to win in Arizona there. So then you're looking at a 7-10 record. But like I said before, there are some games, down the stretch here that I can see the Cardinals winning. Like I can see them if they do sweep the Seahawks, which could be a possibility. You're looking at an 8-9 record. You're looking at an 8-9 record there. Or if they do win against the Saints on Thursday Night Football, then they could be like a 9-8 team. And I think the best for them they're going to be this year is probably going to be like a 10-7, honestly. And if they do get to a 10-7 record, if there's one other team I think they can beat in here, it probably could be the Patriots. In all honesty, I think if there's any other team they could beat, it could be the Patriots. And then you look at a 10-7 record. But I think that's really the most necessary ceiling for them to do. So, but I think my record prediction for them is going to be at least 7-10. I think might be the lowest that they might be this year. So that will be the end of that. There's one more game. And I did have one more game that I did have them losing against, I believe. Or was this it? Yeah. Hold on. Sorry. I'm trying to figure out something. Wanted to see if there was, I think they win in Seattle and then they lose to them at home. So yeah, you're looking at a 7-10 record. So not really a great season for the Cardinals. I don't think they're really that great this year. I think they're going to take a step back a little bit. I think like teams like the Ravens and the Chiefs, I feel like other teams that they do play will have them figured out, and I think they can be a beatable team. But at the same time, they can be an unstoppable team too. So I don't know. I could be wrong. This team could be better than what I'm giving them credit for right now, but we'll see what happens when the season gets there. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Do you think they'll be around 7-10? Do you think they'll be better than that? Just let me know in the comments. And when I see you all next time, we will be discussing the predictions for the San Francisco 49ers.